And I would love to see an OpTic FaZe grand final here.
When they have played a top 4 team in this stage, have gotten World Star, Kentucky Fried Cooked, spit on.
Got a weird feeling there's going to be an upset in this first round, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that this might be it. I'm throwing it at the wall.
What?
Yeah. Hey there guys, and welcome back to the Reverse Sweep presented by PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code Reverse Sweep for a first deposit match up to $100. As always, I'm joined by my amazing co-hosts Pat, Doug and Chris. Today we're going to be going through our Miami 2 major bracket predictions and finishing off with some community questions. Before we get into the bracket, I just want to say a massive thank you to all you guys for the questions and the comments. They've been fantastic. Keep them coming. Right, let's get into the bracket. So first matchup we have is OpTic versus Heretics. And first off, I want to ask Pat's opinions on this matchup here. He's had a little bit of back and forth on the old superstar comments, so we won't get too into that, but we'll start off with Pat's predictions. What are you thinking, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, look, as far as what I've mentioned about OpTic, I still stand by that, but I'm not delusional, Mark. There's 0% chance the Miami Heretics upset this team. OpTic are clear-cut better. Every single player is better than every single player on the Heretics. As a team, they're better. I know Heretics has had a little turnaround as of late, but I think we know where this team is at. I saw Vickel's interview after they last won and said Eric Boom was like getting more familiar with the CDL and how like it's very lights are bright basically on the main stage. And that just seemed like a weird comment to me. Like, I'm glad he's improving, but if you pick someone up who you thought was going to have issues with being in the CDL to begin with, just seems like a weird roster move in my opinion. But yeah, I have OpTic beating Heretics here and Heretics falling down to play the Carolina Royal Ravens. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with that, to be honest. I think that Miami, they have a lot going into it as well. They have Real, who's kind of waiting on the wings. I think that they, as a team right now, are in a kind of weird spot, although they have had a bit of a resurgence as of late. I think this event is going to be one of those ones where it's going to be pretty disappointing from them. I'm not predicting them to do too well, regardless of their recent results. So, and if the lights are bright in Miami, which I'm sure they will be, then Eric Boom might continue to struggle. I mean, although they have been looking better, I still think he's been struggling individually. So, for me, I think it's only going to be one way in this first match, especially when you're going up against OpTic on the main stage with all the fans behind them. You know, that's nerve-wracking. I'm sure you guys obviously have all experienced it yourself. Some people thrive under that situation. Some people bottle it. And I think Miami are going to bottle it.
When the conversation is whether a top 4 team is going to beat a team that has a player that is new to the league and apparently is struggling with finding his stride, I think there's only one place, this conversation can go. And I think OpTic is going to, obviously, they're going to beat down on the Heretics. I could see, like, a potential upset in a map, like, because I know that I think like both teams like to play Rio, and if like Miami just comes out hot, plays them well on one of their better maps, like they might have a chance at maybe at least pushing the series a little bit. But I don't really have too much faith in that, let alone them beating them. So I think Doug's probably going to say the same.
I'd love to say anything is possible, because truly anything is possible, and these are the best players in the game, and anyone can win on any given day. With that being said, Miami has had a really tough start to the league. I think after their first couple of weeks in the league, it just went downhill, and I think that momentum has kind of just continued to go forward in a negative direction for them. Whereas with OpTic, your confidence has to be sky high right now. Obviously, you guys are 7-0. You're winning series convincingly with everyone on your team dropping even KDs. Everyone is working, contributing with each other. The talent is clearly there, and the teamwork is clearly there. That's a really good combination for a win. So I'm going to take OpTic over Heretics as well.
Yeah, so we're all agreeing then. OpTic advancing to winners round 2, Heretics dropping down to lose round 1, where they will face against the Carolina Royal Ravens. And then we're going to go into our next matchup, which is going to be Ultra versus Legion. Legion, a team that have been looking fairly decent as of late, and definitely a team that can cause upsets. But for me, I think I'm going to have to go Ultra here all day, every day of the week. You can't really predict otherwise, in my opinion. I think it would be a massive upset if Vegas were to come in here and take out the reigning champions in round 1 of winners bracket. What's your guys' thoughts?
I think, Legion is, in my opinion, the only team out of these teams in winter bracket that I think have a chance at getting top. Well, not the only teams in the winter bracket, but like the only of the non-top 4 teams that I think will get the a lock for 5th, 6th. They had a pretty impressive stage 2. Purge obviously turned it around. Geo has been looking a lot, really good since he got in. And Attach, in my opinion, has been the best player of stage 2. If we look at it, most improved from stage 1 to stage 2. Attach has been insane. Unfortunately, they're going up against the current champions, the Toronto Ultra, who I believe, regardless of them being 5-2 and losing 2 series to 2 top teams, they've been the best hardpoint team still by far, in my opinion. They still, even the games that they lost game 5 to the 2 top teams, like they went down to the wire, and it was like S&D, and Control being, what these other teams were beating them on. And Ultra was testing maps, so I think Ultra is still a lock. Obviously in winners round 1, they did end up tying Legion 5-2, but they had the tiebreaker head-to-head against them. So for me, I got Ultra winning, but I don't think this will be the last we hear of Legion.
Yeah, I also have Toronto winning. But the thing is, though, it's just kind of unfortunate for them, the matchup that they got, because Legion's problem this stage was like finding a set like hardpoint map pool. Purge struggled in hardpoint a lot. And they improved in their last series that they had to close out the stage. But ultimately, I don't know if those improvements are going to be enough to beat the hardpoint, or like the best hardpoint team in our league right now. So that means they're going to have to play perfect in every other game mode. And as we know, Vegas previously had struggled in Control. Their S&D was pretty good. But like, I think they just got like a shit draw. I think if they played a team like maybe FaZe or even OpTic, they probably might have stood a chance. But I think just with the way they match up and how weak their hardpoint has been, they're going to have to take one of those in order for the series to even be relatively close. And I don't know if they've improved enough to take down the Ultra, especially with their map and mode combos that they would probably play on, if I'm like reading this correctly. So yeah, I got Ultra winning. But like Pat said, I don't think this is the last you're going to hear of Vegas. I think they got it in them to make a deep run.
I agree with all your points. I think Vegas definitely can make a run. They could even win this series if they came out hot and win the first map hardpoint. I think they have intense gun skill, a really good pace. But to Pat's point, Ultra has been the best hardpoint team. I also absolutely have faith in Ultra winning game 2 Control or S&D. So I really think that the first map will dictate the series. I think Ultra should win the series, and it should be a pretty comfortable win. But this is an upset potential match simply because it is the first match of a tournament. We know how Call of Duty can be. You can be a better team on paper. You can be a better team with everything proven. But we have a hungry Legion team here. So if they don't come out hot first map, they're probably going to lose the series 3-0, in my opinion, because I just think Ultra is such a well-oiled machine in search and destroy. If they do go up 2-0, I think they would close it out on the Control. But I'm going to take Ultra in the series 3-0, just because I do think that they are the reigning defending champions. They are still the best team simply because of that. They still do have the reigning MVP. And I do expect this team to come out and take care of business. So I'm going to take Ultra as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I could have... Jesus, my throat just went there a little bit. No, yeah, Ultra advancing to winners round 2, and then we have Vegas Legion dropping down to losers round 1 against Seattle Surge. That'll be a spicy matchup. The next match we have here is Subliners versus Boston Breach. And for me, I think this is probably the most anticipated winners round 1 match we've got here. What's your thoughts on this one, Doug?
Well, obviously, I'm very biased with Boston, but we have to keep it honest. We have to keep it real. New York Subliners are a well-oiled machine. They have amazing comms, amazing teamwork, amazing pacing, talent from top to bottom on the roster. Obviously, the reigning world champions. Boston, we just made a change, and it's been a positive change because we are starting a winner's bracket again. We did finish with a positive record. We are playing one of the best teams. So I have to be honest. I think that we're going to lose the series, the Subliners, simply because of what we've been seeing. But again, I'm going to take New York 3-1 in this series, and I'm just going to leave it there and let you guys have opinions.
I'll take it from here. Although I think that Boston has made positive changes, I don't think they've made the strides needed to really compete with some of these top teams yet. Like at least the likes. I think when it comes to like slaying, there's like the 2 tiers of teams right now. in the top 4. And I think like the high slaying teams are going to be New York, and it's going to be probably, I'd say, Toronto. I think maybe you could argue FaZe, but then like the tier 2 would be like FaZe or Toronto, and then OpTic, because I think I've seen a lot of OpTic wins where they're kind of just like even, and like they don't do a lot of like a high tier slaying. They kind of just like all contribute and have good teamwork. But Boston, like they struggle in their slaying. It's something that we've even talked about on the flank, is they're just not selfless enough. And there's a lot of times where in their respawns, it just feels like they don't get enough kills. Like a lot of the time you're going to see Slasher, which is very uncharacteristic, being the player on their team that steps up a lot in the kill department. So when playing a team like New York that is like heavy on kills, like for example with Sib and HyDra on their team, especially with how HyDra's looked this stage, and then obviously Sib having those pop-off matches, I just don't think they're going to be able to compete. And then when it comes down to that search and destroy, New York's been by far our best search and destroy team. So it's kind of hard to find where Boston has a leg up in this series in terms of like map pool slaying. But I do think that Breach can, if they play really well, if like they overachieve, right, can push this series. But I still ultimately think that New York is probably going to take care of business here.
I agree. I mean, I think the only way Breach could ever do this is if all 4 of them have takeover series. And I mean, we've seen it sometimes individually, like maybe one of them will go off or 2 of them will go off, but we've never seen all 4 of these guys firing at the same time. I think that's been a major problem with the Breach. And unless they can slay with New York, it's just not going to happen. I agree with what Doug said. Like New York has no flaws, really. They're just a great team all around, and I don't think Breach can match that level. So I'm gonna go New York as well.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to have to go New York, but I do think that this has potential here for a Boston upset. But I think that, like I said, the top 4 teams have been hard to beat for anyone outside of them. And I think coming in this weekend, it's going to be the same old story. I feel like we're going to see the top 4 teams all advancing towards round 2. So I think New York here, 3-1, in my opinion. If it goes to game 5, it could get dicey, but Boston have lost a few game 5s as well, from what I remember.
There is some cheese here, though, Mark. There's the former team cheese. Priest is going against the York Subliners. They dropped them off the roster. So you got to take into account for that. Ultimately, I don't think this cheese is strong enough. This is like American cheese. Like it's not even like that smoked Gouda, right? It's not strong enough, dude. It's not strong enough. It's not going to matter.
Yeah. Right. So we all have New York Subliners advancing to winners round 2 and the Boston Breach dropping down to play against the Minnesota Rocker. With that being said, make sure you guys sub to the channel, because we're back in Subliners. So make sure you guys sub to the channel so you see when the videos are going live.
I like that.
Yeah, not as cool with it as you, Pat. You know what I mean?
You've got good. Still very good.
It was all right. It was all right.
That's going to earn at least 500 subscribers.
Yeah, okay, hopefully. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Moving on to the next match in winners bracket, we have FaZe versus the LA Thieves. Thieves, who have been looking all right as of late, but they went up against Ultra in their most recent match and got dismantled, to be honest, in the respawns. FaZe coming off a loss, which I think is going to fuel them into this match. And I'm thinking a 3-0 FaZe here. I think they're coming in with a statement and they're going to absolutely smoke the LA Thieves. What's your guys' thoughts?
I'm going to say what I was going to say. I want to say what everybody else is going to say. FaZe is going to shit on them. And I'll tell you why. LAT, when they have played a top 4 team in this stage, have gotten World Star, Kentucky Fried, cooked, spit on, whatever insane term you can say for somebody getting slammed in Call of Duty. They've stood no chance. They haven't made anything. It just does not look competitive ever. Specifically, Afro has not been able to slay at all against any of the top 4 teams. He's had a couple of, decent series against, or he's having like a one, like same with Kremp, one decent series against some of the other teams where they play outstanding in some of the get maps and modes. But ultimately, bro, whenever they play a top 4 team, like they're locked for like a 0.6, which is not going to get them anywhere at all. In comparison to like Boston, who has had, competitive series with some of the top 4 teams like OpTic in the last stage, LAT is, I just don't have them like in good faith extending this series whatsoever. Yeah, that's where I stand. I'm pretty sure you guys will probably say the same.
Doug looked like he was disagreeing with you. Doug, what do you think?
There's no fucking way.
No, Chris, I totally agree with everything you said because everything you said is straight up facts. With that being said, Dan Ghosty knows the Atlanta FaZe formula extremely well. I mean, he doesn't have the same superstars he had last year when he was beating Atlanta FaZe every single time. I'm pretty sure he beat them every time with the old OpTic team from last year. But Dan Ghosty understands their game very well, and Dan Ghosty is a very driven individual who has the reins to this roster. And I have a lot of faith in someone like Dan being able to manifest something together with these players to cause a potential upset. But I have to be honest as well. I can't see it happening until I actually see it with my own eyes. So it's one of those things where I don't believe it's going to happen. I do think FaZe should win, especially to your point, Mark. When you lose to the LAG, the Los Angeles Guerrillas, these guys definitely, like, the only time I've seen them get upset, it was in Cold War, and then they won champs. So it's like, it's a pointless league match in their eyes. They're going to get fueled, and I do agree with you, Mark. They're going to take out their revenge on LA Thieves.
The only thing that Dan Ghosty is driving to is he's driving Afro to the Challengers Open bracket. That's where this is going.
Wow. Look, I agree. The problem I have is Dan Ghosty is the only one on this Thieves team who is consistently shooting back. All other three of those guys are very inconsistent. They have their moments here or there. They have their game types here or there. But when you're talking about all series long, Dan Ghosty is the only reliable piece that I see on this current Thieves squad for all three game modes. However, I will say that, with FaZe testing maps, I also think FaZe has been a little bit, more shaky this particular stage than we've seen otherwise. And so where I think they're going to handle the Thieves with ease. I am curious to see how this series go, because to your guys' point, like, we should see a Thieves fueled, basically 3-0. They're coming off getting upset when they were testing matches. Like, they need to come with some hunger. Otherwise, I think, if they win like a 3-1 or a 3-2 or it's close, it could spell, disaster for them going up against the Subliners in round 2. So I do think we are going to move FaZe to winner bracket round 2 and have the LA Thieves drop down to play the Gorillas. But with that being said, let's jump into our prize picks from this past weekend. We almost did it. Man, this one was tough to see. Attach went more by a lot. Hook also went more by a lot. Crimp, who is just on the LA Thieves we're talking about, is incredibly inconsistent, let us down less by 8, and then Assault finally had a bounce back series where he finally went more. I was feeling confident, guys. I don't know about you. Crimp, again, he went from having an amazing series the prior weekend to just getting absolutely shit on. And they ended up winning anyway. So it was just one of those series where he did nothing. He just sat there and his teammates carried him to victory. But unfortunately, our entry lost. What do you guys think?
I said nasty. I'm just throwing it out there, man. I'm throwing you guys on the bus. I was say,
He did say nasty.
100%. I was on board.
Can we get a fact check on that?
No, 100%, mate. We can VAR check it. We can do we can rewind. We can look back. I said nasty. I wasn't feeling the Crimp.
I also was saying that Crimp was super inconsistent. So I kind of called it here. It's just unfortunate. The Assault Moore was a good pick. It was a good choice because
he bounced back. We got lucky though, because he fried on Friday, but on Sunday he got a world start against FaZe, and his team also won. So
there's some magic shit going on right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Luckily though, next Thursday for the major, we have 4 matches to pick from. So we have a little bit more than our typical online stages. So we have Vegas Legion against Toronto Ultra, obviously, the Subliners against Breach, Texas against Miami, and then Thieves versus FaZe. So what are you guys thinking? Do we want to go big again? Do we want to do another 4, 5, 6 entry? How would we
go big or go home?
I think we gotta go big.
6.
It's the major, man. We gotta go big.
Go big or go home.
We were almost on point last time. We were just one off. So this time I think we could do it.
So what would you say? What's your first lock, Doug? Of all these matchups, which player is your most confident pick?
Cellium. MC on LAN.
Against the Thieves?
Yes. It doesn't matter who he's playing. It's MC.
But what if it's a super fast series, Doug? Like, what if it's like a 250 to 100 hardpoint?
Hypothetically, all of these could be
that's
super quick series.
Yeah,
never works out that way though.
Man.
No,
I don't know.
I think if you're a Shotzzy hater here, Pat, I think you go with the Shotzzy less.
But they could
That's a good pick. It is Shotzzy on LAN. He doesn't.
Though.
They could play a Rio Hardpoint. If they play a Rio Hardpoint, we are chalked.
Yeah,
I think a Shotzzy less makes sense. A Shotzzy less makes sense.
But if Rio Hardpoint's first map, it's over.
Yeah.
We have to wait. Hold on. We have to find what teams are going to do the Rio cheese. OpTic in Miami is definitely a Rio cheese, so we have to go more.
But it could be game 4. It's the same.
It could be game 4.
Like, we don't.
I feel like
it's a toss up.
it's most of the I feel like I could be chatting complete fugazi, but I feel like Rio is more than likely map 4 in a lot of series than it is map 1.
No, it's been a lot of it's been map. You know, you might be, but it's been map 1 for a couple of Miami series and OpTic series. So like I can see the square up.
Do you see the square up though? Like Miami squaring up against. OpTic?
I think OpTic's. I remember Ben was saying something on the flank where like OpTic's been like Team A every time. In all their series, and I think they'll take Team A again, and they'll just pick the Rio.
Yeah, that's true. They can just force it in there.
Do we not think Miami vetoes it?
No fucking shot. It's been like the only hard point they've been winning consistently.
Yeah.
Or like fighting back on.
Yeah, they're going to have to probably square up on it and get dismantled. So I'm thinking Shotzzy more.
And who would you pick on Miami? We don't have to pick someone on Miami, but I'm saying if we're thinking of Rio, then going more.
What if we do the play? Do we just do all right? Well, if you want to do a less, we could do Eric Boom less, or we just go with another more, but on the Miami end.
I don't even want to touch Miami, to be honest. If I'm honest with
do we have to? We don't have to.
No, we
right?
don't have to. No, we don't have to.
Nah, because they would be taking like 8 players if we did that.
We just take the Shotzzy more.
Okay, Shotzzy more. Lock it in.
Yeah, lock that in.
Ultraverse Legion. I'm just gonna say it. Dylan Attach more.
I'm
not hesitating. He's been
I was gonna say that. That was gonna be my first like locked pick out of all the matches, to be honest.
I agree. Great pick.
Yeah.
On the Ultra side, I'm also feeling a CleanX more. I think this could also be a Grueler.
This could also be a Rio cheese.
Could be
these guys. Both these teams play Rio.
So CleanX more. Well, who would you say on Ultra you're most confident with?
Scrappy. Always.
Yeah, but
always.
His projection will definitely be the highest on this team.
Oh, true. Yeah, we can do CleanX more then.
You guys like
Insight's
that?
It's weird though, because Insight's also been kind of frying in their online matches lately. Like he's been playing pretty good for them. And he played really good in the last Rio.
Yeah, but Insight's going to be it's LAN. You know, Insight's going to be playing slow. He's going to be patient. He's going to be consistent.
That's true.
He's going to let his guys do.
But his projection should be pretty low.
It should be lower, yeah. But this is still Insight we're talking about.
He's consistent. You know what he's going to give you on LAN. He's not going to try to be the
kills per
superstar.
player. Like Rio is a minimum 30.
Okay.
I think the CleanX more makes the most sense.
Yeah, we can go CleanX more here.
All right, let's lock it in.
I'm down for that.
Next is the Subliners against the Breach.
I don't know if I want to touch this series.
Scare you?
No, it's just like map set wise. I don't really know where this is going to fall. And then on top of that, it's like this is a match where like there could potentially be some cheese with like Boston maybe starting off like playing decently, or like New York. Like last time we saw New York on land, they didn't play well. I don't think that's gonna happen again, but like I don't know if I have any faith here.
What about Sib?
I was going to say Sib. Yeah, he's going to be calling in streaks, taking his hand off his control while he's doing it. I'm thinking Sib more. That's what I'm thinking.
More.
Lock in Sib more.
Because do you know why? It's going to be close. I think it's going to be probably the closest series that we have in this winners round 1 matchup. And I think the maps are going to go down to the wire. It might not even be like a blowout that we've kind of predicted. It might be like a nail biter. I could see New York and Boston going game 5, although that's not relevant, obviously, because it's the first 3 maps. But regardless, I could see Sib here hitting his projection.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to touch Boston. I really don't know who's going to play good on that team, guaranteed.
Yeah, they're like a up and down team, aren't they? It's quite a hard team.
Yeah, one of them plays well, the other ones get pooped on.
I'm okay with the Sib more. What about the next series? FaZe against the Thieves.
Cellium more. Cellium's been pretty much like an all-star this whole time. Like,
do we
this guy
Cell
does everything.
more than Dan Ghosty though? Because I'm thinking no one else on his team can get kills, so he will get.
Dan Ghosty more is a more guaranteed than a Cellium more, in my opinion, in this matchup specifically.
Dan's production might be lower,
or an Afro less.
Afro less? No wait, Afro less is the bro. People are gonna say I'm an Afro hater, but bro, the results speak for themselves. Like Afro less is like the guaranteed, bro.
let's not say that, yeah, because I mean, but yeah, I'm down for Afro-less for sure.
If Afro just all of a sudden comes out, they just like place top 4. He has like the best performance in the venue.
Yeah, he's gonna end up frying now.
I'm honestly just giving him as much motivation as possible.
But are we preying on downfalls? Last episode we said we weren't preying on any downfalls.
And look where it got us.
We got to prey
on Crib's downfall.
We got to prey on one downfall. You know what I mean?
Right, I agree with Mark. I think we need one Afro-less.
We can't be going everyone more. You know what I mean? Not everyone's a top tier player. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So what about FaZe? We're at 5 right now. If we want to hit 6, we got to pick somebody from FaZe.
Well, then I think we do
Cellium more and Afro-less.
Yeah, I'm down for Cellium.
You guys like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll lock that in. We'll do Shotzzy more, CleanX more, Attach more, Sib more, Cellium more, and our only less Afro. We'll lock that in for Thursday of Miami Major. And remember, guys, download the app today and use code ReverseSweep for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks has quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types, and that's what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app.
And now, right back into our bracket, guys. We're going to go into the losers bracket round 1 matchups, and then actually, should we just continue on winners bracket or?
No, let's go to losers. Let's get right into the Elimination Fridays.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Miami Heretics, Carolina Royal Ravens, guys. What do we got here?
Damn, the battle of the burgers, bro.
Gotta be Carolina, surely, right? It's Lan, Clayster, T-Fell.
Dude, you say that, but like, have you seen how they've been playing? Like,
they've been playing worse.
So bad.
I think with Isaiah coming out, Gwyn saying what he said, it's going to light a fire under Fellow and Clay to show up.
I disagree. And I do have more faith in them. I think they're compromised. Think so? I think they're fully compromised.
Over Miami, though? I mean, this is a...
Miami's been on a little bit of a resurgence, but do I have faith in Miami to play well in LAN? Last time we watched them at the last major, I don't think they won a map. I think they went 0-3-0-3.
They're too fast on the map, man. They make too many mistakes, especially on LAN.
They ain't going to get double first rounded in their home major, though. They're coming out with a fire.
Boston did. Boston got 12th at their major. We're going back-to-back 12th at their own home event.
Didn't they start in losers, though?
I can't remember, but they got 12th.
I mean, Miami are pretty much starting losers at this point. Yeah. They're going straight down there. They're just getting some scrims in on Thursday. I think that for me, Miami are looking like the better team. I think they're both looking pretty poor at the minute, but like Chris said, Miami has had a bit of a resurgence as of late. And not only that, they've got the home crowd. And I think that these guys are very passionate players. If you see them behind the scenes, they play on a lot of emotion. And I think that that's going to play in their favour in this matchup here. And they're going to have the crowd behind them as well. Obviously, the OpTic matchup in their winners bracket one is going to be a bit different because there's going to be a majority of OpTic fans there. But when it comes down to that match against Carolina, I think the crowd's going to be on their side and they're going to back them. So I'm thinking Miami. I'm thinking Miami 3-1 or something along those lines. But I'm feeling good about Miami victory here.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm on the same page. I mean, Clayster does have a big fan base, though, so I know a lot of people will rally behind him and his team. Royal Ravens or whatever team Clay's on always usually has a pretty decent fan base at events.
Only so much they can rally behind.
I just don't know if that's going to carry them forward because they've just looked so bad as of late. So I got Miami. I think we all got Miami. You guys have anything else to say about the teams? I just
think that Clay always shows up on LAN. And even last event with Clay and T-Fell, like I felt like it was one of those events where a lot of people doubted them and didn't think they were going to perform well. And I just always feel like they always find a way to do something on LAN to keep themselves moving in a positive direction, despite all the negative things that have happened in this online stage. I don't know. I just feel like Carolina's going to win this, but if I'm outvoted 3-1, we have to go Miami.
Would you say, Doug, part of that could have been like the honeymoon period? Like they just made a roster change 2 weekends before?
Yeah, they got Fellow and TJ.
It's possible, but I just think on LAN, I see more proven players on Carolina than I do on Miami. And that's why I'm leaning more into Carolina than I am into Miami.
I mean, yeah, I think this is a coin toss regardless. I'm just going off what I've seen online, and Ravens have looked like the worst team in the league except for Seattle.
Yeah. So we all have, well, not all of us, but we've agreed that Miami are going
decision.
Majority decision. It's going to be interesting when we get to a tiebreaker here, actually, if there's any draws. But Miami are going to advance into losers round 2, and Royal Ravens are going to be getting a flight home Friday evening. So the next matchup is Vegas Legion versus Seattle Surge.
DoorDash.
I'll go first. It's Legion. Surge is going home quick.
Yeah.
Fast 3-0. Fast 3-0.
Fast 3-0.
Are we?
No
is there
hope for Seattle here?
Is there anyone here who doesn't think Seattle is the worst team in the league and they needed a roster change immediately?
LAG is, but at least like if you're talking about like multiple stages, I think LAG is still. So, but
I still have, like, player wise, I have more faith on people on LAG to get some damn kills.
No, I do, and that's because obviously they got rid of their best. Seattle got rid of their best player. They brought somebody on, and he ultimately hasn't made too much of an impact. I don't think he's a terrible player, but like this team has way too many problems for one player to fix. So, yeah, no, I think Seattle is terrible, and Legion have been really good. I think they just get they get a tough first round match, and they're going to beat the out of Surge.
I do have to agree. I do think Legion are going to win, but I don't know why.
I've just got a
weird. Yeah, I'm gonna just throw it in there. Right, got a weird feeling there's gonna be an upset in this first round, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that this might be it. I'm throwing shit at the wall.
What?
Yeah.
Mark.
Nah, he's just saying that. He's only saying that because he knows we're all going to disagree, and it's not going to matter when it comes to our bracket prediction.
Yeah, exactly.
There ain't no shot you think Seattle is going to beat Paris in this matchup. There's no shot.
No. I think Vegas are going to win. No. I do think. No, I am voting Vegas. I'm just making it clear. I'm voting Vegas, but I'm thinking if there's an upset in this losers round 1, this could be the one. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Mark, you're talking crazy right now.
I know.
Talking like me at my prime craziness, man.
Yeah. I'm talking rubbish. I've convinced myself. Vegas 3-0. Vegas 3-0.
I will say, though, if Vegas do lose this series and it's like a purge stinker, do you guys agree that they need to just make the roster change, even though he's shown improvement? Because he had some stinkers at the last LAN. I know he's shown improvement on his new role. And maybe it won't be him, but like we've talked about this before, teams do okay online, and then every time they go to LAN, they just get pissed on. And we've talked about what it takes to be the top 8 at the end of the year when champs comes around. I just think Major 2 is a big tipping point for a lot of these teams that are on that cusp of are they going to be in the top 8 at the end of the season? I think Vegas has the potential to be, but if they get smoked here and go out to a Seattle Surge team in 12th, then they have to, right?
I would be highly surprised, but that would suck.
Yeah.
I think we're just preying on downfalls here, Pat, because honestly, this Vegas team is looking good, and we're talking about this.
They've been looking good, yeah.
Pat, the Seattle, Pat, I went into this match today, Boston versus Seattle, expecting us to win. I fell asleep during map 2. That's how boring it got. I fell asleep when they were up 5-0 on that terminal. Mason was under control stairs. Seattle does not have a chance in the series to beat Paris, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Vegas!
All right, Vegas, lock it in.
Vegas!
Right, lock in. Right, we're advancing Vegas to play in losers round 2 against the Miami Heretics. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Boston Breach versus the Minnesota Rocker.
This one can get gritty.
Boston all day, baby. Let's go. Boston Breach.
What's your prediction, Doug? Like, how do you think the series is going to go?
Game 5. I think we're going to win a Game 5, and I don't think it's going to be close.
Or like a smoke show Game 5.
I mean,
like
Minnesota hasn't been able to win any Game 5s, right? Did they win one? No,
it's 6-2. I think it'll be a Game 5, 6-2 for Boston.
Damn, you're going correct score and all?
Yes.
Oh no, bro. Like
in depth.
I mean, this series is completely like it's gonna be whether Wake plays good. Wake has been Minnesota's weakest player. I feel like he's on the cusp of being rotated out of this lineup, and I think this series is only going to be confirmation further that they probably should make the change. Because I just haven't seen anything really too good from him, and I feel like everyone else has stepped up, and they've even shown they can compete with the top teams, having pushed a couple of them to Game 5 and just not being able to close. I think this series is just going to be Boston's going to win it. I don't know if it's going to be a clean series or not. But at the end of the day, this is going to be, the final straw for the Minnesota Rocker to kind of pull the trigger on the roster change, I think. I completely welcome the fact that Wake could prove me wrong here. But, I mean, he just hasn't been very good, in the last 2 stages. So,
yeah, for me, I think I'm going to have to go Boston Breach here. I'm going to go... I think, Chris, you're spot on. I think it's this series, in my opinion, is decided by the performance of the ARs on both teams, to be honest. And that's the way I think it's going to go. Boston, for me, I think both teams have been had their ups and downs, don't get me wrong, but I'm feeling a bit more confident about Boston in this matchup. So I'm going to go Boston like 3-1. And I think it's going to be the big moment where Minnesota probably then go in and make that change afterwards if Wake is to underperform.
I hope Rocker loses series just so they make that change. And that's not me praying on Awakening's downfall, but like this team desperately needs to make a change to make things more interesting. They could be pretty good. Yeah, they could be a solid team. And like they could be up there with Vegas in like the 5th, 6th conversation, but like they literally look so awful in stage 2. Awful. And even if they come out and win this series, like I just hope they don't place well enough here to where they don't make a change, because long term I feel like not making a change is going to bite them in the ass, and they might as well get ahead of it and improve while they can in arguably the most important place in the season, which is after stage 2. So yeah, I'm going Breach here. I think Rocker will put up a fight, but I think Breach will get it done.
I want this team to pick up Dylan Rex as soon as they drop Wake. Because they need, if they're going to have the way their roles are, Wake is supposed to be that Slayer. And I feel like if they're going to make an NA change in the roster, Dylan Rex is like by far and away one of the best like AR Slayers in the Challenger scene right now. And that's where they're going to pull their player from. So I think that's kind of where this is headed if they do drop Wake, if they're doing the research.
Fair enough.
Fair play. Fair enough. So we have Boston. We all agreed, right? Boston Breach advancing to... Yep. Okay, cool. Boston Breach advancing to losers round 2. And then the final losers round 1 matchup we have is LA Thieves versus LAG. Another repeat of the Battle of LA, which we saw last week. Is it going to be another LAG win?
LAG's winning it this time. Listen, they just beat FaZe. They were compromised for a bit, but they got some confidence under their belt. I think LAG still has potential. I mean, I'm maybe a little biased. Probably am. I think Astral has performed a lot better than he did last stage, and he's looked really, really good. I think Diamond Con, Fame, and Assault are probably going to be they're going to be fueled up for LAN. I think they're going to play better on LAN. They had a decent run at the last event. Granted, they've played really poor this stage. If you go back and watch your matches, they just made a lot of like blackout systematic mistakes, which I think ultimately they will probably be way more focused on LAN, and they'll be able to carry that forward. And I think they're going to beat the Thieves because, I mean, maybe I'm just a Thieves hater, but hey, I got LG. Those are my boys.
But they literally smoked them at the weekend.
Don't care.
Fair enough.
You are indeed a Thieves hater. I am going to go with Thieves here. I think, regardless of the potential of the players on Gorillas, it's kind of the same thing with Boston for me. Like, they don't have one player who's consistent. Like, yes, Estral can have series, Diamond Con can have series, Assault's been really bad, and I think Fame is the most inconsistent player I've ever seen. But at least on the Thieves side, like, they have Dan Ghosty, who so far has been pretty formidable. Like, every series, he's at least doing his job. And I think consistency is a big factor on LAN as well. So I'm going to go Thieves here. I agree. They're the better squad. So Mark, I'm locking in Thieves as well.
Lock in the Thieves. I'm taking Thieves as well. I just think LAG has not shown enough, especially in anything, really. I mean, yes, they just beat FaZe, but they haven't shown me enough. I've seen more consistency, more improvement, more positivity with the LA Thieves roster. Despite how you, Chris, think that Afro is going to be back in the Challengers, I don't think it's going to be happening this soon. I think they're going to be at least able to get past this matchup to play the Boston Breach in losers round 2.
All that I'm saying is, granted the LAT beat LAG, LAT get World Star hoop tape 360 turned on whenever they play a top 4 team. At least LAG beat them. Just be.
But I mean, like
Just saying.
that's something I can agree with you, where I can say LAG is better versus a top 4 team than the Thieves are. But versus each other, I don't like when LAG plays the dog shit teams, they get smoked. Like, why do they only play good against the top 4 teams? So for those reasons, I'm just going to say Thieves win the series based on what I know and what I've seen.
Fair is fair. I'm outvoted here.
Yeah. So we have Thieves advancing to play against the Boston Breach and lose round 2. And we'll go back on to the winners bracket matches again. So we'll go on to OpTic versus Ultra. This is going to be an absolutely disgraceful series, in my opinion. I can see it going down to the wire game 5. Although I'm a massive Ultra fan, I'm actually going to favour OpTic in this series. I think if it goes game 5, I think OpTic have made a lot of improvement in S&D. It's been one of the big focuses of theirs. And I do think they have what it takes to be able to like nick one hard point off of Ultra. So for me, I think that all signs point to a potential game 5 victory for OpTic. They've been grinding out these game 5 victories as of late. So I think that's probably my prediction, 3-2 OpTic.
Disagree. I'm going to go with Ultra here, but I think this is actually going to be a repeated match when it's all said and done. I think that these two teams are both on point right now, and I don't think OpTic's going to take this one. I think OpTic's going to lose in a really close game, and I got Ultra moving on.
I got Ultra winning 3-1. And I say this because I do not think OpTic is going to take hard points off them. And I have confidence on LAN that Ultra will be able to win one of the 2-3 swing modes. I don't know if they'll win the S&D or the control. I'm actually thinking that they'll lose the control and win the S&D. But I do favor OpTic in 2-3-5. I just think we're back on LAN. Ultra's better in hard points, and this is our repeat winners, our current winners, and I think they'll put together an S&D or a control on LAN and win a bracket round 2. So I got Ultra.
Well, I'm just going to go with recent form, and OpTic has just looked like the better team. OpTic even beat the Ultra in their
Game 5,
match.
Whatever, yeah.
They still beat them. They got it done, and they looked a lot better this stage. So I'm going to go with OpTic. But at the end of the day, I mean, this series has all the makings for a very close series. And yeah, I don't know. This is going to be a coin flip. So
Do we flip a coin?
I think we have to flip a coin.
I agree.
All right,
Mark, who's doing it?
Who's doing the coin flip?
You want to go to the site and we'll make the call?
Yeah, I'm going on the site right now.
Mark, do the coin flip for us.
You guys are just going to have to trust me.
Who's OpTic and who's Ultra? Which one's heads, which one's tails?
OpTic is heads.
Okay, are you guys ready to go?
Ultra's tails, okay.
All right, here we go. Tails.
Bang. Ultra.
I got through.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Lock it in, Mark.
Lock it in, baby.
Ultra advancing to the winners bracket finals. And the next match we have is, and obviously OpTic dropping down. The bracket would flip now at this point, correct?
They're at the bottom side, yep.
Yeah, so they'd moved into the bottom side of the bracket. But the next winners bracket matchup we're going to talk about is Subliners versus FaZe. Subliners just coming off a reverse sweep at the hands of OpTic, and FaZe just coming off a loss to LAG. So both teams, obviously, at this point, they've both won a game, but both teams, as we're speaking about them, have got a bit of a chip on their shoulder. I think that for me, after FaZe destroy LA Thieves, I see no other result but them cruising into the winners bracket finals. I think for me, FaZe, to beat them, in my opinion, in this tournament, you don't really want to play them in the winners round 2. I think that they get a bit of momentum then. I think they've got a higher chance of beating the winners bracket round 1. I think after a win against Thieves, they're going to be feeling good and they're going to come in and dismantle New York Subliners 3-0.
I got New York. New York has just looked really, really, really good this stage. I feel like their map pool is better than like damn near every single team in this league. And I feel like they're going to have a favorable map set. It's just going to be on them to perform. And I think with recent improvements, this is going to be the event that New York bounced back after their poor performance on LAN last stage. And they've just looked nothing short of amazing. So I think they are going to take FaZe. But again, you never know. It could be a coin flip series. When it comes to the top 4, there's just so much parity that I don't really know who's going to take it. And again, if I want to just cheese it, Subliners did beat FaZe already in the online stage, so we could see more of that here.
I'm saying FaZe 3-1. I agree with Mark. I think in a round 2, FaZe really starts heating up. They're going to take this LAG loss online, and they're going to ride this all the way to this Toronto Ultra match in the winners finals. FaZe 3-1.
Dude, I don't know. This series is tough.
It's so tough against like all these top 4 teams.
If it went game 5, I would take New York, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that.
New York has just looked so good, bro. Like watching, like, bro, they tested maps. Like, obviously, OpTic deserved their win. They tested maps. They played Rio for the first time. They squared up with them on maps that I don't think they're going to play. OpTic in, for example, even in a best of 5, they'll probably play them in a best of 7. That's kind of why they're getting those reps in. But like, bro, they went game 5, round 11. While testing maps. That's so impressive to me. And they've just looked dominant versus every other team. They smoked FaZe.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go New York.
All right.
Mark.
Okay. Another coin flip.
Oh, wait,
okay.
It's a coin flip.
It's a coin flip.
Who's
Right,
got
okay.
all right, Pat, you call it. Who's got heads, who's got tails?
I'm gonna go Atlanta FaZe heads, New York Subliners tails. Tails.
Here we go.
Tails back to back.
Heads.
All right,
Hey.
Tails.
Do you know what? I was thinking the back-to-back was going to work for you there. All right, so we've got FaZe advancing to the winners finals against Ultra,
Yes.
and FaZe and Subliners dropping down into the upper half of the losers bracket.
So is this a rematch then? Ultra FaZe, didn't they match in winter finals last event?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it's definitely going to be a spicy one, that's for sure. I think that Ultra are probably at a weaker point now than they were previously. Do we want to talk about this match now, or do we? Should we?
Nah, let's go down to losers.
Go out to the losers bracket first, yeah. Right. So the next losers bracket match we have,
Quick.
Miami Heretics versus Legion. What's your guys' thoughts?
Legion.
Is there anything
Not
we have to
even
say
close.
here?
Yeah.
We have nothing to say here. Legion is just good.
And I will add context. It doesn't matter who Legion plays in this round, whether it be Ravens or Heretics. I think they're winning. Legion will win losers round 3.
Yeah, I think I'd advance Legion into losers round 3 as well. So we're all in agreement there. I do think that Miami have a little bit of a chance here, though. I do think I do.
I thought you sold all your Vamos bucks. You're
I've still got a few of them. I've still got a few of them in the locker.
Okay.
Just for a bad day, you know what I mean? So I've got to throw that in at the end there, just so when they do upset them, then I can be like, yeah, see, I had a little bit of faith.
Okay, I see.
You know what I mean?
You're cheesing. I got it.
Yeah, I'm cheesing it. So we have Miami Heretics advancing into losers round 3 to play against New York Subliners. Not Miami Heretics, sorry, Vegas Legion. Vegas Legion. Advancing to play against New York Subliners. And then the next match we have in the loser bracket is Boston Breach versus LA Thieves.
This one can get weird because LA Thieves, they struggle against high slaying teams because they don't have high slaying players. Luckily for them, Boston is not a high slaying team. So I think this is a pretty even matchup with both teams making improvements and both teams looking decent among the lower teams. So I don't know where I'm going with this. Any thoughts?
I'm going to say Boston just because of the search and destroy. I just really have confidence in the search and destroy. I think that the slaying is a little inconsistent on both sides from both teams. And I think that the search and destroy is going to benefit Boston Breach. I just think that when you have Slasher on LAN with the way he plays search and the way that the whole team is playing in general in search and destroy, I just have to favor them. I feel like they're just going to grind out a game 5 search and destroy back to back versus Minnesota and Thieves to move on to play OpTic.
But that's the thing, though. Like, I'm not going to give my prediction. I'm probably going to go last because I honestly don't know where to go. Thieves have looked really good in search. They've won a lot of game 5s, and prior to the series that they beat the LAG in, they were not winning like game 1s or something like that. I think it was, or maybe it was game 4s. They weren't winning hard points very often, but they've looked. That what carried them forward was their search. So when you look at a team like Boston, who again you're saying is going to be good at search, it's like they're so evenly matched. Like I feel like this is just such a hard one to call.
Yeah, I think I would probably honestly lean more on the side of LA Thieves personally. I just think that what I've seen throughout this stage, although Thieves have looked really bad against the top teams, I think that against Boston, I've just got faith that they're going to be able to at least squeak by winning one of the two hard points and then winning the S&D. Like you said, I think both teams are decent S&D teams, but I do think that LA Thieves have a bit more of a wider map pool on it, to be honest. So I'd slightly favour Thieves on the S&D, and then I'd also think that they've been looking decent enough to win one or two respawns.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think 3-1 LA Thieves is my prediction.
Finally have come to my decision, and it was just because you were talking. I was just like thinking about both rosters. I think Boston is just a lot more of a LAN season team. You know, they have a lot more experience under their belt, and when these teams are relatively, I think, even in terms of their map pools and stuff like that, I think I have much more faith in Boston being able to close this out, because looking at the like history of like the teams and each player on these teams, when it comes to like Nasty, Afro, Dan's kind of the outlier here, and Cramp, I don't really feel like they've had any like crazy like long-term like success on LAN. Granted, they were all in different teams and stuff like that. I don't really remember too many deep runs in tournaments from either of these teams except for Dan or any of these players. Well, I feel like a lot more of the Boston players just have had way more experience on LAN, making deeper runs, winning tournaments, while the LAT kind of don't. And I still feel like they're relatively even when it comes to everything. So outside of it, I think what carries Boston forward here is going to be the experience. So I'm going to go with Boston.
I'm going to go with Boston for similar reasons that I went with them over the Rocker. I think the Thieves still need a roster change, and I hope this will be the catalyst for that roster change. I think there's too many inconsistent pieces on the Thieves squad, and at least with the Breach, we've gotten some consistency. I still need Preston to step up. I still need to see more from Snoopy. Doug, I know you're high on Snoopy. He's been relatively quiet all year so far, compared to what we saw for his brief stint in MW2. So I'm hoping that we get a big series out of Snoopy here, because he's been quiet. So I think for those reasons, I'm gonna go Breach. And unfortunately, I think that'll be the end of their run as well.
Doug, you went Breach as well, I'm assuming?
Yes.
All right, locked in. Breach advancing into losers round 3 to play against OpTic Gaming. Now we're going to continue on with the losers bracket for one more round, or?
Yeah, one more round.
All right, sweet. So New York Subliners versus Legion here. I have Subliners winning this one 3-1. Think that Legion going to go on a nice little losers bracket run, but I think the Subliners are going to be a bit too much for them. And I feel like it's going to be hard to really not favour the top 4 teams here. Like you guys have been saying throughout the show, Subliners have played great throughout the stage 2. They've had a lot of series that they've won 3-0, a lot of really comfortable matches for them. And I think Legion, although have looked great, I think the skill gap diff is hitting them here in this one. And I can see Subliners taking it out 3-1.
I have the New York Subliners. However, I will say the series does have upset potential, because I think if we're looking at the bracket, the way that we're handling it, Legion is going to have a lot of games under their belt. They're going to be able to get a lot more comfortable. And if they're making this deep of a run, you got to think that all their players are stepping up at one moment or another. So that's going to be good for players like Purge to kind of like get more reps under their belt and get some confidence in, because when they play Subliners, they're going to need it. They're going to need it very badly. And I feel like for players like Geo and Purge, who haven't been in the league for a long time, it's probably going to go a long way, and this could be a competitive series if they all play well. But I still think New York Subliners ultimately are the better team. One thing I will also note is that New York Subliners, especially, I feel like at least Sib at some points in his career had problems, like, he would get compromised sometimes, like mentally. I do think he's, he has a stronger head on his shoulders now, but like if these guys like lose like a heartbreaker series, or like maybe just like are struggling and don't play too well against FaZe, like where it's not competitive, like these guys might end up bombing out and coming in and losing to a hot Legion team. But I will still say New York should win this.
To your point, Chris, I do think if it went to a Game 5 Search and Destroy, it could get interesting, because going back to what you just said about them being a little bit frustrated from losing to FaZe, they are thinking in their heads, they are the world champions. And if they lose to another top team in winners bracket and they're playing a hot Legion team, and it was to go to a map 5 when it is their bread and butter, I think a lot of that pressure could start adding up.
There's just a lot of pressure on them, yeah.
Despite the fact that the fact that they're world champs is the reason why there's that pressure. And I think that Vegas does have a really good S&D team, But I agree with Mark. I think New York should win this as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go New York here. And if I was placing a prize pick entry on this one, I would be slamming the more for both teams, Attach and HyDra, probably, because I do think this is going to be a little grueler that goes the distance. But I am confident that New York takes it.
All right. So we have New York advancing into the next round of the loser bracket. Now we have the Texas OpTic versus Boston Breach. And for me, I think this is where Boston Breach's run ends. And I can see them getting destroyed here by OpTic. I'm going to go 3-1.
I wouldn't say destroyed, at least online. They were actually competitive against OpTic. They were one round away from beating them. I think they literally basically were tied for how close they were to beating OpTic the stage with New York. I think that OpTic is just is going to be very confident in this matchup because they already had beat them. But I feel like that confidence might not play into their hands, and I feel like we could get a very competitive series. I still will say OpTic should win, but Boston is not a sleeper here, especially if they play anything like they did against OpTic prior. But yeah, I got OpTic.
OpTic, no question. I know it was close online, but I think OpTic handled this team easily.
I'm gonna say Boston Breach, game 5, 6-4. You know the vibes, baby.
Let's
Come on,
not
man.
be delusional. What do you have?
Gotta go with Breach, man. You know, even if I'm getting outvoted, gotta go with Breach, bro. Breach to the ground, man.
Well, sadly, you are outvoted.
Yeah, unluckily for you. Boston will be exiting the tournament in our predictions here. We have OpTic advancing to play against the New York Subliners.
Our top four are our top four. No spoilers like we had at Boston.
Yeah, exactly.
No surprise here.
No surprise.
Let's go to the winners bracket. We haven't talked about it in a bit.
Yeah. So we have Ultra versus FaZe in the winners finals. I think for me, again, I think Ultra kind of got nerfed by the recent map changes. They were like obviously winning a lot of Skid Row S&D in the last stage, and then they've brought in Rio S&D, and they're just not looking as comfortable on that map. So for me, I think that's a big difference when it comes down to the map views, and I think that's been a big reason why Ultra have been struggling more in S&D, just because they've not been able to be on their most comfortable S&D maps a lot. So for me, I think this series goes down the wire, but I can see FaZe edging it 3-2.
I agree with you, Mark. I'm going to say FaZe as well. I think FaZe, they were my picks to win going into this stage. And I think that this is going to be the time. FaZe is probably going to win this series just because of the map changes. I agree with you, Mark. And I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to take FaZe over Ultra as well. Moving on to the finals.
FaZe has already beat them in the online stages. Granted, I know some people will argue that they were testing maps, which I'm sure they probably did some of that this stage, right? Trying to improve that map pool, because that's been their issue this stage, at least with Search. They haven't been able to find a strong map outside of their Karachi S&D. I know they've tried Rio S&D a bit, but FaZe are no slouch in that, and they played them on it, and they beat them. So I think this series is probably going to come down to Search and Destroy. Like, I think FaZe or Ultra is going to need to at least take one off of FaZe here if they want to make this, if they want this to go the distance. But ultimately, I will say I think I have more confidence in FaZe winning this one.
I think you guys are faded because it is the best hardpoint team. I don't see them losing either hardpoint in this series, just like I didn't against OpTic. And again, this is our current champions from the last major. And this stage, they did a lot of map testing, giving teams literally their best maps on purpose in series. And so I think they will take at least one of 2, 3, 5.
The weird thing is, though, with this series now is, like, with the map set, FaZe has obviously been really good at Rio. They even beat Ultra on it. Rio Hardpoint, sorry. So when it comes down to it, right, Toronto lost a good S&D map in their map pool, while FaZe gained a good hardpoint in their map pool, at least one that they match up well against Toronto on. So, like, if the vetoes go down to it, they just have an advantage now, at least in a best of 5. So, like, you can make the argument maybe in a best of 7 things would be different, but I think just like veto advantage, like map pool advantage now, sure, Toronto could show up. I mean, top 4 team versus top 4 team, these could go down to the wire. I just think FaZe just have an advantage now with how Toronto has been, adapting. But that's why I got FaZe at least.
All right. Well, Unfortunately for you, Pat, you've been outvoted and we've got
You sure we
FaZe.
don't want to flip a coin, Mark? Are we sure?
Why does your vote count for 2, Pat? You're outvoted for either
It
one.
does.
Here,
I
man.
just wanted to verify you guys wanted to make the mistake and we're moving forward.
Pat, listen, like later on, maybe in the predictions, it might change,
Mark,
when we get to that
the
grand
perfect
finals.
bracket show. I'm just trying to make sure we picked the perfect. All good. I get it.
It's all good, man. Yeah, we have FaZe advancing.
You said it, Mark. I agree. We got Ultra moving on. Great prediction, Mark.
We have FaZe moving on to the grand finals and Ultra dropping down to the losers bracket where they will be facing up against either Subliners or OpTic, which is the next matchup we have to talk about. Guys, what's your thoughts on this one? For me, I think OpTic are my slight favourites, but I think it's hard to pick between these two teams.
I got New York. They were testing maps against OpTic that they haven't played. They look strong on Rio, right? So they know that they are not scared to play OpTic on it. The sub base, they're not playing sub base against OpTic on LAN. I promise you they won't. And then when it's like anything else outside of that, like they look like they went toe to toe with them on their best S&D map. They took care of them on Terminal, which was their second best S&D map. Like OpTic is going to have to excel here to beat New York, I think. Like the online series, a lot of people be like, "Yeah, they're 7-0, blah blah." It was literally like a kill away, basically, from going to either team, just like it was in their first online stage. And New York have just made massive improvements in their map pool. They have an advantage here. Like I don't care what the series result was online this time. You can just tell that New York is just so well prepared. They're willing to take every team on any map outside of what's one map they haven't played? Rio Search. Like it's the only map I haven't seen them play. I got New York.
I think today was, a close series of them playing, and it went down to the wire. On LAN, I think I have more faith in this New York squad. We're just looking at these players in general. And so I'm going to go with New York. I just think consistency will play a factor, and I'm expecting one series on OpTic to be a bomb at this major where they all get shit on. I think it's going to be this one. So I'm going New York.
Doug, what's your thoughts?
I'm a little conflicted because I feel like OpTic has a lot of confidence right now. I mean, you can't not have confidence if you're 7-0 in your matches.
But if they're in loser bracket, Doug.
Well, I'm just saying in their online matches, they went 7-0 and they're playing good winning COD. I'm watching Brandon genuinely becoming a player that I've always wanted to see him become. And I think Brandon could have the takeover, Dashy I'm speaking about, could have this actual takeover ability in a huge moment like this and ride this momentum, not just past New York, but also past your picks, Pat. And I would love to see an OpTic FaZe grand final here. I would love to see it. And I think that this might be that time. Miami, spring break, Atlanta FaZe OpTic Gaming grand finals. We all would want to see that.
I just don't think that they've made enough strides in their map pool. I feel like, it feels like OpTic has gotten their best maps in every series. Like this stage. Yeah, they've won 7-0, but have I not watched them play Rio Hardpoint against every single team in the league? And Karachi S&D? The only map set that I feel like they have a guaranteed leg up on most teams is going to be Control because of how good they were at Invasion Control. And then obviously Karachi Control is another strong one, but it comes to the hard points and the searches. We were talking about how their search isn't that good. And then on top of that, I feel like I see them play Rio Hardpoint every series. Well, that's not going to be guaranteed at a major. And on top of that, they've been losing it. They've lost it to New York. I think who's the last team they play? I feel like they lost it recently too, again, to a different team. I can't remember who it was. Maybe I'm just talking about a mess. But anyways, point is, they've been clutching up in their series online. They've gone to Game 5 against Boston. They got to a Game 5 against New York, right? Like they've been clutching their series. And that's with Shotzzy having an overperforming stage for what he did last stage. Like I said, I still have faith in OpTic being able to make this competitive and even making a run. They could, for all we know, they could show up and make grand finals. I just think if we're looking at this from a logical perspective and just like analyzing everything, I think New York just have the leg up on them in every way.
All right. So we're tied then, right? If I'm not,
you said OpTic?
Yeah, I said OpTic, yeah.
Yeah, we're tied.
Doug?
I have OpTic as well.
Unless you change your minds.
Yeah, you guys can still change your minds.
You guys can still change your minds. All right,
sticking to my pick.
I'm standing on it.
Stand on business.
I'm standing on business. I'm going OpTic. So we're doing a coin flip. Brett, we're going to go OpTic heads.
We're 0 for 2,
tails.
bro. So, Mark, you call who's who?
I'm calling OpTic heads, subliners, tails. All right, I'm flipping. Heads.
Can we see a screenshot proof?
Bro,
All right, I'll get you a screenshot, man. I'll get you a screenshot.
Nah. Mark's actually an op, dude. That's crazy. Anyways, it's fine.
I'm taking it.
It's
Wait,
fine.
no. Wait, I'm not 0. It's not 0-3 here. You guys won the first coin toss.
Yeah, you guys won the first coin toss with me and Mark disagreeing.
Yeah. So we have OpTic advancing to play against Ultra in the losers bracket finals for a chance against FaZe in the final. What do you guys have here?
OpTic to the grand finals.
Ultra
OpTic,
not
baby.
close.
Oh, OpTic.
It's a rematch of winner bracket round 2, and for the same reasons, I got Ultra beating them.
I think they're going to come back, make changes, and win this series.
We're getting a major 1 grand final rematch.
The thing is, I predicted OpTic in the first series, even though it went down to a coin toss, but I'm changing my prediction in this one. I'm changing up the vibe, and I'm going Ultra because I think Ultra FaZe finals. It's just destiny.
It's destiny.
So I'm using destiny cheese. Here.
I'm just looking at it from like a hypothetical bracket perspective. I think at this point, OpTic is just probably going to run out of steam, and Ultra is going to put that fire out. Because Ultra are just going to be, they're going to go through a grueler against FaZe, right? They hypothetically beat OpTic already once. They're going to have a lot of confidence in their belt, and they're going to want that rematch against FaZe.
So I'm outvoted 3-1 here.
Yeah. No coin toss this time, Doug.
No coin toss. We have Ultra advancing into the grand finals, playing against Atlanta FaZe.
Well, this isn't going to be as fun because I think we're all going to say the same thing here. Am I wrong?
I don't think we are, Doug. I'm getting spicy with it. So I did predict Ultra to lose to FaZe in the winners finals, but in a best of 7 in the grand finals, I think it's a little different. I think
3 S&Ds, right?
Exactly. But Ultra have looked obviously not great in S&D, but they actually, now I think about it, I was going to convince myself Ultra are going to win this. Fuck that. FaZe 4-2.
FaZe is going to win because Ultra's S&D map pool is just weaker now. Like,
I'm with you guys too. FaZe.
You can't even argue it. I'm sure they can come in. I'm sure they can come in and overexcel and overperform again and just like beat them even on their weaker maps. But like just looking at it from map pool perspective, FaZe should have the advantage here, and they're going to even have a veto advantage on top of their map pool advantage if they're in winners. So all signs point to FaZe winning this matchup.
It seems I'm outvoted, but I just want to say that Ultra is winning this, and they will repeat as Major 2 champions.
It's just FaZe always has one every year, man. This is just their time.
They do, and
right
it's just not this one. They got Major 3, not Major 2.
Major 3's in Toronto, though. I think
Ultra's going for the 3-peat, Mark.
Yeah, so we have FaZe winning the whole tournament then. Congratulations, FaZe. You're our bracket prediction champions. Make sure you put that in your trophy cabinet. After the coin toss. After the coin toss, cheese.
All the coin toss and Destiny cheese leads to FaZe.
And that's our bracket, guys. Now we're going to be moving into the questions segment. Obviously, you guys have been putting in all your questions in the comment section below. Make sure you keep doing that. There's been some great ones in there. We're going to answer some of them today. And yeah, like I said, just make sure you keep them coming. And they really have improved from the start, because at the start, wow, there were some faded takes in there. First question is from Dylan Jacqueline, and he says, what's the greatest shit-talking moment in COD history?
Oh, this ain't even an argument, bro. It's ours. We were iconic, bro. You're sitting there watching. You're watching me play. Woo! Woo!
100%.
Like, dude, that video is literally freaking viral. Like, that's how crazy that was. That is the greatest shit-talking moment. If you guys never seen it, for those of you guys in the chat, look up Killa the Choo Choo Train on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find it. But basically, long story short, Karma had left our world championship team to team with Envy back in the day, and me, Killa, Miracles, and John were on a team called Epsilon, and we got into like a heated shit talking session with not only Envious, the team, but the crowd, because they were booing us. So we just started going rogue. Yeah. Not even a question.
No, I think that probably is the most iconic. To be honest, some of the more funnier ones I'm thinking of, I don't even think I could repeat on this show, to be honest with you.
You saw about the Nesla one?
Yeah, there's other ones as well. There's worse ones than that, in all honesty. So, yeah, I don't know if I could say any of those.
Crazy ones in Europe. There used to be a whole bunch of Deserto montages of back in the day of like the old European like COD stuff back in Black Ops 1, like MW3, and like you guys went rogue down there.
Yeah, I was a horrible person. I'm not gonna lie. I used to just find something to pick on someone in the opposite team, just shout at the entire game. Moving on to the next question, right? Everyone's agreeing on that, right? Yeah, we're all agreed.
Yeah.
Probably this, right? Cool. Cora Cook's question is, what do you all think was each other's best and worst habits as a player? Answer for yourself and each other, please.
This is gonna be a long one. We gotta go through.
And we all team with each other.
Yeah, we've all played with each other.
We've all teamed with each other. So this is a good question. Outside of you, Mark, unfortunately,
have you guys won together, Pat and Chris, on the same team?
If Chris abided by the GA,
okay. Let me take this first. Then I think because I won with both of you guys, and I've lost with both of you guys too.
All right, Doug, we'll let you cook.
Okay,
yeah,
so Pat, your best attribute as a player, when you care, unguardable. We're winning 100%. Just do your job. Pat's going to win us the game. When you don't care, Pat, on the flip side, doesn't matter what you do, we're losing. So it's all up to you, Pat. You're the mastermind. You're the guy. You're the guy, man. If you want the team to win, we're going to win.
All right, me next. What are you saying about me, Pat, Doug?
Very similar in a way. I feel like when you're in a mindset of like, I need to prove myself, and once you get into your flow state, it's the same thing with you, Chris. You both share a very similar greatness attribute about you guys, but it's also the flip side with the opposite, with the mental. You know, like if there's a little thing off or there's something that's bothering you, and if maybe it's me, honestly, maybe it's me because I felt it with both of you guys. If something's off a little bit, we're just going to harp on it and we're losing. So it's almost like a double-edged sword with both of you guys. If you guys are on, man, no one's beating you. But if not, we're losing.
Okay, I'll give you guys both one. That is, again, very similar. Just absolute delusional confidence on both of you guys. No matter what the team was going through, we always felt like we were the best team in the venue and no one could win. Nobody could beat us. And that goes for both of you guys. And then Doug, I guess Doug is an extra one for Doug, as you were always very selfless and you would do whatever the team needed you to do for us to try to win. It didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter how stupid it was. You were just down for it. Negative thing about you, Doug, is you did whatever we told you to. So it almost like to a degree, it never felt like you had your own opinion sometimes, because you were just so willing to kind of like, yes, let's go. Let's just do it. Right. If you would just trust us too much. Pat, your negativity would be your stubbornness, just like me, but I'm sure it just comes from the same place where it was like a competitive nature thing where we both felt like we were right. And it ultimately, at times, would lead us to find a better solution. So that's my positive and negatives for both of y'all.
Mine for Doug would be, Doug, your positives are your passion, absolutely, and your selflessness. I agree with Chris. Your downside, I would also agree, is your selflessness. I think there were times where if you were more selfish, it would have been better off. So yeah, I think that one is a double-edged sword. It goes both ways. For Chris, I think your positive is your. I actually think, Chris, your ability to show up. I feel like you were a pretty reliable person in terms of like I could count on you to grind, to try hard, to bring the best effort every time. And your downside would be I feel like you chalked stuff very easily.
Mentally, 100%.
Yeah. Mark, I've never teamed with you, but I would say your positives are
your beard.
You're just the most handsome guy in the venue every time.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
sometimes I can't understand you, depending on the word you're saying.
I think the other part of the question was that we should all like what we think is our negatives, like as individuals. So we'll do that. And then obviously, Mark, you can do the same thing. You can acknowledge your strengths and weaknesses because we never team with you.
Yeah, I am.
You go first since you haven't said
Yeah, exactly. I am just the best player in the world and always was. No, honestly, I think. I think to be honest, I think that probably was my issue when I was a player, is my lack of confidence in my individual ability at certain times. And I was very kind of in this point where I kind of just decided to become one of those players that kind of just did whatever the team needed. Like some events I would run an SMG and I was always like an AR player, but I would just do whatever was needed for the team. And I feel like that was kind of my downfall of my Call of Duty career in a way. Best habits, I think my passion and energy, I would always give 100% into everything. So I think that's probably my biggest. And yeah, well, you guys continue.
Okay, so I'll say my negatives first. I feel like I definitely would lack trust in my teammates, especially if like things continue to go negatively to the point where, like Pat would say, I would just chalk stuff mentally. On top of that, like that would build up a lot of frustration, and I felt like I could have definitely handled situations better when expressing my frustrations to my teammates. But it's something that I definitely learned to kind of change as I got older. Like it just wasn't worth it. But that being said, my strengths were, I felt like I just had a very good understanding of Call of Duty to the point where I could like break things down in my head at like almost like a scientific level, which added to like my frustration because I felt like it was very hard to get people to understand how I viewed things. And when I felt like I couldn't, or they wouldn't listen or something like that, right, where I couldn't get it through their heads, it kind of led to the negative side. So like in a way, my positives would double-edged sword into like what made me a negative like player or teammate. So that's definitely where I feel like I stood on as a player.
Doug?
Well, I'll start with the positives and then I'll finish with the negatives. I think the positives for me was I always embraced pressure and I always was looking for the absolute most amount of scrutiny and pressure humanly possible. And I wanted people to feel that amount of pressure. And I wanted to show people that when that was at its ultimate peak, I didn't care, we were winning. And then I think that my negatives were, as time would go on, I was continuously trying to chase that same high, and it would just distract me from the simple things day to day. And then that would cause my downfall for my career. So I think that passion is a double-edged sword.
For me, I would say I always felt that no matter what, I could always elevate my teammates to play the best possible Call of Duty they could play. And my negative would be that I always assumed other people thought like me, and that when I obviously realized it obviously worked very well when you're on a team with everyone who does think alike. This talking about like nature, mentality, all that stuff. And then there's teams where people don't think alike, and if you're still or you're still treating them like they think like you, it's just a recipe for success. So I would say that was my negative.
Yeah, Pat, we're both narcissists. It's okay.
I don't even think it's narcissism. I just think it's the way you approach competing. I think everyone approaches competing differently depending on like their background, just their mental fortitude about certain stuff. And I think teaming with like-minded individuals when it comes to that, I think MJ has a good quote. It's not necessarily meaning it the same way, but like if you don't want to play that way, don't play that way.
Don't play that way. Yeah.
And I think that came down to like when you were picking your teammates, like if you picked people who didn't play had that same mentality, then you're kind of screwed from the get-go because you're going to face issues that just will be unresolvable.
Thinking about it, Pat, it was kind of like, at least from my career perspective, it was kind of unfortunate because I feel like we obviously shared a lot of the same views. And I feel like back in the day when we were competing, there was only a select few people that kind of thought the way that we did in terms of like how serious we took the game and stuff like that. And I feel like you kind of, I'm not going to say lucked out, but I guess in a way you lucked out and you had those teammates for a very long time, right? Where I kind of had those teammates with like Farico, but then after that, it was kind of just like over with and I spiraled from team to team. I'm not making excuses for myself, but I genuinely feel like you could probably agree, there was just very few people that thought of Call of Duty in a certain perspective. And it was just very hard to find. And like, here and there, I might find one or two people on a team that probably thought the same way, but then there was basically outliers on every team that ultimately would just lead to like frustration for myself and cause me to kind of lash out and shit. So
I would say yes and no, because like obviously in BO2 and Ghost I team with the same people, but after that, like the FaZe AW team, even with Doug and App and Austin, I felt like I had that, and then even somewhat on our Enable Austin and U team. But after that, until I got that EG team at the second half of World War II, I felt like I had not had one team that was like that. So yeah, I mean, but that's a big thing, right? Like if you're one of those type of players and people that think that way, and you're in a team environment, it's just never gonna go well if you guys are
it's not gonna last
fundamentally
long.
different. Yeah, if you're fundamentally different in thought process and mentality, it's not gonna last.
Yeah.
That's a really good question, though, from Connor. We were all opening up there. That was beautiful.
little COD therapy session for the boys.
Little COD therapy session. That's it for us here, guys, at the Reverse Sweep presented by PrizePicks. Make sure you download the app today and use code Reverse Sweep for a first deposit match of up to $100. Make sure you like the video and keep those amazing comments coming, just like the one we've just heard. And obviously, subscribe to the channel as well. See you guys later.